In animal husbandry, animal breeding is one of the most important aspect which need to be taken care. And then the question is, why should we go for animal breeding? It is to improve the quality of the products and to get better yield and to have the disease free animals. We need to go for animal breeding. Then what is this breed? What do you mean by breed then? If you take the organisms of a species, in that some organisms will be having same, or you can say the similar characteristics, and they are all related by descent. Then apart from that, they may have same configuration, color and all. And such animals which are related by descent and having many similar characters like the color, size, configuration and all those things are said to belong to same breed. We can see we are having Jersey and Brown Swiss, which are the two different breeds which are present here. Then what are the objectives of animal breeding? Why should we go for breeding here? As I already told you, it is to improve the yield. One is most important thing is to improve the growth rate. That means it should be able to multiply, it should have very good rate of reproduction, and the good productivity, that is increased production of milk, meat, egg and of course wool, etc. And the animal breeding also intends to have improved resistance to various diseases. As you know, the diseases are going to affect the yield of the individual, and that is going to increase the mortality of the animal also. That's why we need to have the animals which are resistant to the diseases. And thirdly, and next, we have to have the quality of the animal products. When we say quality of the animal products, it is with reference to the nutritional level of the products we get. The milk, you know, if you are getting the milk, if it is watery and if it is not having proteins in them and if it is not having enough amount of calcium in it, what is the use of it? So that's why whatever the product we get from the animals should have the nutrients in a specific quantity. In the sense they should be rich in those nutrients. That's what we mean by the superior quality of animal products. Then increased productive rate, life, and also increased reproduction rate. So anyway, that both we have already seen. So it is to improve the quantity of the product as well as the quality, and also to improve the reproduction rate. Then we can see the two individuals, one male and also female, are being crossed here to get a new variety in this. So in hybridization, which is also called hybridization in the case of plants, so the animal breeding, here we always try to get the offspring, that is the progeny, with higher quality. Higher quality with reference to many characteristics. The characteristics can be, one is the yield, higher yield should be there. Then second, the resistance to the diseases. Maybe thirdly, we can have adaptability, and like that we have so many characteristics which can be taken care whenever we go for animal breeding. This animal breeding, we'll try to understand it in detail, what exactly is being done in this, and also what are the different types of animal breeding. So in animal breeding we are having two types. One is called inbreeding and second one is called outbreeding. And this outbreeding is further classified into outcrossing, crossbreeding and interspecific hybridization based on the parents which we are going to use for this breeding of the animals. So let us see one by one in this case, and the purpose for which we are going to use different types of breeding here. We need not depend on only one type of breeding. It all depends on the purpose for which we are using this breeding. Based on that, we are going to use either inbreeding or outbreeding, and within that it can be outcrossing or crossbreeding or interspecific hybridization. Ultimately, it is the productivity which is going to matter in this breeding. So we want to get the best breed so that it is going to serve the purpose for which we are rearing these animals. So let us see one by one here. You can see we have used the Sindhi breed here, and in this Sindhi breed the best male is going to be crossed with the best female. Then when I say the best one, what do you mean by that? It is best with reference to the characteristics. So it should have the characters which are advantageous to us. So as we have already told, it may be with reference to the yield. It can be the milk yield in this context, and resistance to the diseases. So in this we are using the best male, we call it as superior male. Superior bull is being used, and the superior female, that is the superior cow, is used here, and they are going to be crossed to get the progeny. You can see here both of them belong to the same breed. And secondly, the most importantly, these male and also female which are used for the crossing, which are used for the breeding, are related by descent within the 4-5 generations. So we call them as bit close relatives. So if they are related by the descent within these 4-5 generations, then if you are going for breeding between the superior male and also superior female, so as to get the progeny, so as to get the young one with the desired characteristics, this we call it as inbreeding. This is called inbreeding. So inbreeding is the one where the superior male and also superior female, which are related by descent within these 4-5 generations, are crossed to get the progeny with the desired traits, desired characters. You can see the mating of more closely related individuals within the same breed for 4 to 5 generations. And what are the advantages of inbreeding? This inbreeding helps to develop pure lines, thereby increasing homozygosity. If they are having good characteristics, and those good characteristics are going to be present in those progeny we are going to get, in the offsprings which we get. So that's why we try to develop the pure lines here, where the same alleles are going to be there, which we call it as homozygosity. And it exposes the harmful recessive genes. Here also the homozygous recessive genes are going to be grouped here, and they can be seen and they can be eliminated. They can be removed from the population by selection so that we can have the best. So it is going to help us in selection, and here also in the second case it is used for elimination. So anyway, elimination by selection only we are going to do in this. Then the inbreeding, because we are trying to have homozygosity here, it increases productivity. So when we are having a particular breed which is having very advantageous characters, we try to have inbreeding so that we are going to continue the breed for generations, and that is going to increase or improve the productivity. So that's what is being done in inbreeding. And you can have a look at this one. So A represents the dominant allele, small a represents the recessive allele. Recessive allele may be the allele which is having disadvantageous character. And you can look at this one. So when we cross heterozygous one and also homozygous dominant, we get homozygous dominant and also heterozygous dominant here. Then and in the generations, what happens here, you can find the recessive alleles which are going to be there. The recessive alleles, these are going to be the harmful homozygous recessive alleles. So both the alleles are same, they are recessive, because of which what happens here, we may get the progeny, we may get the young one with the characters which are inferior, so which are disadvantageous. So for that we need to go for removal of such inferior characters which are present in that particular progeny. That means we have to remove the particular individual with inferior characters. And because of these inferior characters, or you can say because of the recessive genes here and continuous inbreeding, leads to a problem called inbreeding depression. So you can just have a look at this one. Here same thing. Here you can have the one with the inferior characters here, where the productivity is going to be affected. Let me say the productivity in terms of cow, if you take, it is the milk yield is going to be affected. And secondly, the fertility of the individual is also going to be affected. They may become sterile. They may not be able to reproduce at a regular time. So, and such case is what we call it as inbreeding depression. So that's why inbreeding depression is reduced fitness in a given population as a result of continuous inbreeding. So when you say continuous inbreeding, what do you mean by continuous inbreeding? How many times you can go for inbreeding? Normally for about 4 or 5 times we can go for inbreeding, but later on quite naturally the fertility and also productivity of the progeny is going to be reduced. So such state, such stage where the fertility and also the productivity of the individuals or the offsprings is going to be affected is what we call it as inbreeding depression. Inbreeding depression. Then what to be done for overcome the problem of inbreeding depression? So that inbreeding depression can be overcome by using a method, we call it as outcrossing, which is a type of outbreeding. So inbreeding depression can be overcome by using this outcrossing. So that is the one which you can see. Then coming to the next thing. So we have different types of outbreeding. What is this breeding in this case? Or what is this outbreeding? Here in inbreeding, the animals, the superior male and also superior female belonging to the same breed are going to be crossed here. In outbreeding, we are going to breed two unrelated animals which may be of the same breed but having no common ancestors for about 4 to 6 generations, or between two breeds, or between two different species. So 3 things you can see here. We are going to breed between the two individuals, the superior male and also superior female of the same breed, but not having link, not having common ancestors for about 4 to 6 generations. That means they are not immediate relatives. Secondly, there may be crossing between two different breeds of the same species, two different breeds. And thirdly, it can be between two different species which may be of some economical value for us. So based on that, we are having three types of outbreeding. One is called outcrossing, second one is called crossbreeding, third one is called interspecific hybridization. So these are the three types of outbreeding. Let us see one by one then. You can see in outcrossing, we are going to use the same breed, but they have different ancestors. So this is the practice of introducing unrelated genetic material into a breeding line, where it is going to help us to increase genetic diversity so that we can overcome the problem of inbreeding depression. So in outcrossing, the superior male and also superior female belonging to same breed, which are not related within 4 or 5 generations or 4 to 6 generations, are going to be bred. They are going to be crossed to get a young one, to get progeny which is having some genetic diversity which is going to be advantageous for us. And it is mainly, outcrossing is going to be mainly used for overcoming the problem of inbreeding depression. Then you can see here we are having two different breeds which are going to be used to get the young one with a new breed. So that is going to be, you can see in this, we are using one breed, the superior female from brown Swiss and superior male from Sahiwal breed. So we are using normally the local breed and also the foreign breeds are going to be used. You know, local breeds are normally having better resistance when compared to the foreign breed. Secondly, they have more adaptability when compared to the foreign breed. Foreign breed, in other case, they have better yield. In this, so we try to merge these characteristics from two different breeds so that we have a better variety, better quality, better breed. So in this we can see brown Swiss crossed with Sahiwal has given us Kiran Swiss, a new breed which is having the characteristics from both brown Swiss and also Sahiwal, having better yield, secondly good resistance against the diseases and also very good adaptability in the given conditions that in our country. So thereby it gives us better adaptability, better yield and also better resistance against diseases, and added to that many more characteristics are also there which are advantageous. That is what we do in crossbreeding. You can see here superior males of one breed are mated with superior females of another breed of same species, and the desirable qualities of two different breeds are combined to produce the hybrid. The new breed we are going to get, which we call it as an hybrid, which is an amalgamation of both the breeds. Amalgamation in the sense a mixture, combination, combining of both the breeds here. That is the thing we are having in the case of crossbreeding. You can see another example we are having here. It is in Haryana. Bikanere ewes, a female, was crossed with merino rams, that is a male, to give us a new breed in Punjab, Haryana region, that is called Isardale. So that is the best example we are having from the sheep and also goat. So Bikanarayus crossed with merino rams to give us Isardale in Punjab. So this is also the crossbreeding we have between two breeds. The crossing was done and thereby resulting in a breed which is having both the advantageous characters in this case here. So that is the better wool yield. So you can see the better wool yield, then secondly higher adaptability, and also thirdly resistance to the diseases. So for that, this particular breed, the new breed, has been obtained through crossbreeding. Then thirdly, sometimes to get the individual or an animal with some economical importance, here two different species but which are related. In the evolutionary process, some animals, even though they belong to different species, they are very closely related. In some cases what they do is, closely related two species they take, one superior male and also superior female, and they are going to be crossed here. In the sense, the crossing between two different species. Here in this example, we can see the superior female, that is the horse here, and also superior male, that is donkey, has been crossed to get mule. In this, the horse and also donkey, they are very closely related species. They have common ancestry during the process of evolution, if you look at, and then that resulted in the mule. And mule, which is obtained here, is going to have some advantageous characters which is beneficial for us economically. So it's a very good carrier. It is the animal which is used by mountaineers. But the thing is that, and in such hybridization where we are crossing two different species to get another new species, or you can say which is the amalgamation of these characters of these two species, is what we call it as interspecific hybridization. Crossing between two different species to give us a new species is said to be interspecific hybridization here. So mule is the one which is there. Example we can have here, and this particular one is infertile, in the sense it cannot reproduce, and also it is very advantageous because it can be used as a vehicle in the mountains by the mountaineers. So this is about the interspecific hybridization, and we have inbreeding and also outbreeding. Then to have this breeding experiments, we need to get some technological benefit. We have certain ways by which we are going to make use of technology in this breeding. So for that we go for controlled breeding experiments. So here we may face the problem of bull many times. In the natural environment, the bull may not be able to cross with many cows. In such situation, if the bull is having very good advantageous characters, very good characters which are beneficial for us, then we collect the semen and they are going to be put into pipes, and also they are going to be stored and they can be taken to the distant places also. And such an use of semen from the superior male, that is the bull, which can be collected and also frozen and kept for longer days, and whenever necessary we can inseminate into the female. And such process is what we call it as artificial insemination. And in this artificial insemination, semen is collected and stored or frozen, and it is going to be used later, that is whenever necessary. And it is easy for transportation to distant places. And the semen from one bull can impregnate a number of females. So we can use it for breeding with many females. That is the advantage, and the time, place and other problems can be overcome by this artificial insemination. Even though the percentage of success is bit less, but it is one of the way by which we can improve the breeding, or we can improve the herd population. You can see here, this is how the artificial insemination is done by using the instrument to eject the semen into the female reproductive tract. You can see the pipe which is there. This is the gun for inseminating the semen into the female reproductive tract. And there is some advanced technology which is available now. Now we have seen the superior male can be used to bring about this breeding with many females by using artificial insemination. In other case, we may have some female which is having very good characteristics, the best characteristics which we want. Then, if we are using the same female, same cow, then once in maybe 2 years you are going to get one young one from that. Maybe sometimes it may be once in 3 years, sometimes it may be once in 4 years. So that's why the number of individuals we are going to get from the best female which is there, best female in the sense the one with the best characters, is going to be very limited. In that situation, we have to improve the herd, improve the number of individuals. For that, we go for a technique called multiple ovulation and embryo transfer, which is shortly called, in short we call it as MOET, M-O-E-T. That is what we call it as super ovulation. What is that which is done in this case? In this super ovulation, you can see this particular superior female is going to be injected with the hormones which are responsible for ovulation, the formation of ovulation. So they give in such a way that they give that particular hormone in such a way that so that is going to produce maybe 7, 8 or 10 or 15 or 20 eggs at a time. But what is the number of eggs which are produced by this cow every time? It is going to be one only in the normal case. But what they do is through this follicle stimulating hormones, that is FSH, so they are going to increase the number of eggs which are released. That we call it as super ovulation, because that is the one which is having the most appropriate, most advantageous characteristics which are desired by us, which are required by us. In such case, we go for super ovulation. And you can see in this what are the steps which we are following here. So the donor cows are going to be treated with FSH to increase the number of eggs released at ovulation, which we call it as multiple ovulation. That is first part of this multiple ovulation and embryo technology. In that we increase the number of ova. Instead of one, we are having many. Then secondly, in the second step, that is going to be inseminated either by using the bull or maybe by artificial insemination, depending on the availability and also the requirement. So that is the second case which is going to happen. So once the superovulation take place, the insemination will be done, or maybe the crossing will be done with the superior bull. Then after 6 to 7 days after this insemination, the embryos will be at around 8 to 32 cell stage, and they are going to be flushed out, that is removed out non-surgically, because in the case of cows, unlike in the case of human beings, the implantation process is going to be taking place at a later stage. It takes more time for implantation, unlike in the case of human beings. That's why the embryo is not yet implanted in the cows or buffaloes and all. So that's why we can remove them non-surgically. And once they are removed here, so at 8 or 32 cell stage, you have already studied about embryo transfer in the case of human beings, how exactly it is being done. In the same way, here the embryo transfer is done to the other cow, and that embryo transfer onto the another cow is what we call it as the surrogate mother, which we call it as the recipient cow. So they are implanted in the surrogate mothers, and then they are going to grow. Suppose if you are getting the 10 embryos, 10 surrogate mothers are going to be selected. One is going to be introduced into one surrogate mother, and each one will develop in the surrogate mother. And sometimes the embryos may be frozen and stored by using the same techniques, like we preserve the semen and we can use it later on also. And like that, at a time you can get maybe around 8, 10 or 15 young ones from one female by using the egg from that and artificially inseminating that, and then we are going to go for the embryo transfer. So this is the technique which is used to increase the herd here, like in the case of sheep or cows or maybe rabbit. Then other animals can also be they can be using this particular technique. And nowadays, even in to increase the number of wild animals also, they are using this MOET technique. So then you can see the superovulation which is there. This is about the MOET technique, which is very useful for us. Then we need to go for plant breeding, that will take up in the next session.